I'm Cameron Vickery. I'm the Director of Communications and Development for Fellowship Southwest, and I get to work with these amazing people on the screen with us today. Right now we have Elket Rodriguez, who is our CBF field personnel down in the Rio Grande Valley in Harlingen, and he works a lot with the border pastors that we work with and partner with on both sides of the border, and has good relationships with a lot of them, including Lorenzo Ortiz, who is the other person joining us right now. Brother Lorenzo has an amazing story that we have come together to hear tonight. And Elkit, I'm going to let you introduce Lorenzo a little bit and just tell everybody what his ministry is.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you all for being here and listen to this great news about Lorenzo. So what doesn't Lorenzo do? That's a great way to explain what he does. We should start by what he doesn't do. But no, just kidding aside, fellow Pastor Lorenzo is a member of Fellowship Southwest Immigrant Relief Ministry. He is the director of El Buen Samaritano Migrante Ministry. He operates 5 shelters in Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, Mexico, which is one of the most, if not the most dangerous cities in all of North America. And it is, Nuevo Laredo is right across the US-Mexico border from the town of Laredo, Texas, which is 150 miles south of San Antonio, just to put you in a little bit of, for you to have a little bit of perspective. Out of those 5 shelters, 4 of them, Pastor Lorenzo operates in Nuevo Laredo, and 170 miles south in Coahuila, Mexico. So there currently he hosts 430 migrants. But that's not all he does. Even though he operates 5 shelters and oversees that work, he also assists the respite centers that operate on the Laredo, Texas side, which are Holdings Institute and Catholic Charities in Laredo, Texas. When the Customs and Border Patrol releases migrants into the United States, which is about 200 every day, Lorenzo is there to help these 2 institutions with finding migrants, with helping migrants find their sponsors, find transportation to get to their sponsors. And so Lorenzo actually is a very important person on the US side as well for these institutions, because he's the one that serves out of his own heart migrants as they come across, so that they can get from point A in South Texas to point B, wherever they're going to go to their sponsors in all of the US. But that's not all he does either. He also transports vulnerable migrants in Mexico from his shelters to the Nuevo Laredo port of entry when Customs and Border Patrol authorizes a migrant to get across to the US, because they've been exempted from Title 42, which is a policy that it's been implemented all across the border that authorizes the rapid expulsions of migrants. When Lorenzo helps Customs and Border Patrol transport those migrants to the port of entry so that they can get inside. And the migrants that I'm talking about are vulnerable migrants, and that's why they are exempted from Title 42. So Lorenzo is one of those persons that would every week transport pregnant women, people who have very severe diseases, if you can say, or they have capacity issues with mobilization and stuff. So Lorenzo is one of the persons that Customs and Border Patrol contacts and says, this person has been authorized and exempted from Title 42, bring it to the border so we can release that person into the United States, and that person can go safely to their sponsor. So everything logistically that pertains a migrant, pretty much in that Nuevo Laredo port of entry. Lorenzo is the person that at least his hands are everywhere when it comes to that, and he's one of the most reliable persons that even U.S. authorities and Mexican authorities use for the protection of migrants.
Thanks. So yes, Lorenzo, we rely on you for a lot. We rely on you, and migrants and asylum seekers rely on you. And so that is why we were all horrified last week when we got the terrible news that you had been kidnapped. It is one of our biggest fears in this work, that somebody like you would get kidnapped by what we heard was the cartels. We know that this is a huge risk. This happens to migrants all the time. And so what we would love is to hear from you what happened, and tell us anything you're comfortable telling us about what happened to you last week.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation, and God bless everyone, all those who are going to be watching this video. Brother Elke, thank you, and thank you, Cameron, for this invitation. And yeah, I think sometimes for us, it becomes so normal when we live this style of life on trying to help our brothers in Christ, which are a lot of the migrants. And the reason why I said that is because sometimes we see the migrant families like if they were not our brothers or sisters in Christ. But just to kind of complement that, let me say that on this experience that we had on the kidnapping, it wasn't just me the one was kidnapped, but it was about 15 other people that was kidnapped. And before they were kidnapped, I told them, the cartel told me that they were going to go and check our shelters after I was kidnapped. So I told them that they were going to check them out, and they all wanted a single man, a single woman, a single couples. But I told them that we were going to share the gospel and testify about God's love to those cartels, because that's the only thing that can change that. And if God let him work in that city, it's for a purpose, to test our faith, to test our hearts. So they were faithful, and they were strong, and they were brave. And when the cartel came and asked him, it was voluntarily that they raised their hands and they went with those guys. And it took him about a week before they were released. And when they came back, they told me their experience and their story, that they were scared, that they had some hard times, that even they cry. But they were doing some singing and prayers in those stage homes that they had. And when they were having a little gathering and service and praying time, that there was a cartel that came in, a cartel member. And when he saw all the guys singing and praying, when he saw that, he started crying. So there are brothers and sisters, a lot of these migrant families. So let me just start now from the beginning, what happened real quick. Everything started because there was a family that did a favor to another family, try to help someone that was deported. When they were deported, those families, they decided to take it to our shelter without me knowing. And even if I knew, I was gonna provide our shelter for those people, because that's why we're there for, to protect, to help, even to give our life for the families. Because in my perspective, I do not believe that the gospel is not going to cost, or we don't have to pay a big price if it's needed, and if it's God's will. Because even Jesus said that in the world we were going to be persecuted, that they were going to hate us, that we're going to talk all kind of evil things or bad things about us, but that we have to trust in him. That's what he said. So I do believe, and since I started going to Nuevo Laredo, knowing that these cartels had all kind of shooting and doing a lot of evil things, I knew that I was going to be working on the middle of woes, just like Jesus said that he was sending us like sheep on between those guys. So I knew that, but I knew that God was going to be there, and that our light's supposed to shine on the top of the table, not under. We don't supposed to hide. Church don't supposed to hide from all the danger. They supposed to be scared, not us. And that's what we understand on Acts 2. So starting from the beginning, this family that did a favor one to each other, they brought this, they were going to bring this family to the shelter, but they were not able to get to the shelter when the cartel catch them up, picked them up at the bridge in Mexico, the international bridge where we all cross to the US. So they were picked up right there, and they were taken to their stage homes and start questioning so many things. So when they heard about Pastor Lorenzo's shelter, then they said, oh, we got to call Pastor Lorenzo then and see what he's doing. And then they called me about a couple of days later after they kidnapped this first family. And this first family called me up asking me when I was going to Nuevo Laredo. And I told them I was going to go the next day because I had some things to do. But I knew that she was kidnapped already because somebody else told me that she was kidnapped. So I knew that this cartel was using her to bring me on board. So I went the next day in the afternoon, like around 6 in the afternoon, and I was waiting for those guys right in the front of our shelter. So they arrived, they picked me up, they didn't hit me, they didn't push me or anything. They just brought their weapons, asked for my name, and they brought me in. And as soon as I got in a Tahoe behind the seats, there was another family, and that's the family that was responsible from all this things that happened to us. So the first thing that those guys asked me is, how much do I charge each migrant to come across? And how do I make business? Or why do I do that? And I told them that it was just as a pastor, we do this for free. We don't charge them $1. And they started telling me all kind of bad words and telling me all kinds of scary things. But I told them, well, if you got my phone, I'm not going to talk about me, but you check my phone. I check everything what I have done since 5 years ago. And if you find just one person that I charge them $1 in their countries or in our shelters or in the US, if you just find one call talking to someone about money or any extortion, then you can pull the trigger if you want. So they were surprised because I was sure about what I was telling them. So then they started driving me all around the city all night long. Maybe like around 2 in the morning, they took me to their boss, and the boss asked me the same thing. And I said, I can't believe that you have this amount of people and you got hundreds of calls that you're not charging anybody for this. Nobody does this for free. And I told him, well, that's what we do as churches. And he said, well, I'm going to beat you up and I'm going to do this if you don't say the truth. And I said, well, the truth is on my phone and the truth is on the migrants. So just call all of them if you want. If you find any migrant anywhere that I do any extortion on him, then you can pull the trigger or do whatever you want. So after all night, I didn't tell my wife about any of this kidnapping, and I didn't tell any authorities either, because I thought it was just going to be maybe 2 or 3 hours by the time we talk to this cartel and figure everything out and find out what was the reality on it. But these guys, they wanted to do something else. So after maybe couple of hours after they picked me up, the shelter, they saw my van right in the front, that the tires was flat. So they sent a picture of the van to the shelter with my sister. And then my sister sent a picture to my wife. And, you know, when the wife gets the news, you know how that goes. They start calling everyone. They call FBI locally. FBI said that they can't do anything. And then they start calling the organizations, my wife and my daughters. And when they call the other organizations, that's when our voice got all the way to the White House with the FBI. So FBI started moving people all over in Mexico. So Mexico sent the soldiers and the Marines. Marines that were chasing this cartel. The next day, starting like 10 in the morning, they were chasing all around the city. They start kind of circling all this cartel. They never been scared. I think that that cartel, they never had such a fear because the boss stopped everyone after the soldiers back up a little and gave him a little break. And after that, then the boss said to his guys, if I get killed tonight, then I want you to continue the business on the other side of the U.S. In Laredo and also Nuevo Laredo. So I knew that they were scared. And I had such a peace because I know in who do I trust. Plus, I think the main thing, it was because of everybody's prayers. There was thousands of Christian brothers and sisters and people they know was from the government that they were praying for me. So that's what made me strong, and that's what shaped this cartel. So I think the ones that was kidnapped, it was them and not me. So I just thank God for that. There was a few other issues that happened, but they released me the next day. They wanted me to pay $40,000 so that they can release me. But then when I told them I ain't had the money, they brought it down to 20,000. So I told them I was going to have to call brothers and sisters and migrants so I can raise that money. But we raised the 20,000, and I told them that we had the 20,000, and that he needed to send someone in Laredo, Texas, to pick up the money. But then they got a call, and they were all scared. Government, the local government in Nuevo Laredo, the state, and the federal. They called this guy somehow, and all the cartels called this cartel, telling them to release me because they don't know who I was, and they didn't know what kind of person I was, because the ONU was involved, CIA was involved, FBI was involved. So it was a lot of these things that we had control. So it's just in a matter of a night and a day. It was the whole city. There was soldiers running like crazy, cartels running like crazy, chasing soldiers to cartel, until they decided to take me a little video, asking me just a few questions. What was my name? If I was beat up, and I told them no. If they took any money from me, I told them no. If they beat me up, I told them no. So that's, I think, what they have as a proof that they didn't do anything bad to me. And they released me on Saturday night, like around 11 at night. Then after that, the guy that took me to my van, he saw that the tires was flat. He got mad at the people because it was some people from the community who did it, maybe some cartel members. And he said, "Oh, Pastor, I'm going to fix it for you. Don't worry, I'm going to fix that right now." And I told him, "Well, just take me to the bridge or give me a taxi if we can find one. And then I'll just leave the keys with you, and you fix it, and I'll come and pick it up tomorrow." So the cartel guy fixed my tires, and next day I went to pick it up. So after that, they just went into our shelters scared. They were so scared to go into our shelters because they thought that some FBI or somebody was checking them. So they were a little scared, and they start asking the migrants if please they can go with them, because nobody was going to get hurt. They were just going to check him out because their boss told them. So it was just a lot of those experiences. But the most thing that it really impacted me is about the testimony of those people that was kidnapped. They released the first 5, and we received them so happy, and we put a table with food, and they start singing some songs, and we start hugging everybody, their relatives and friends. They start crying with them. And then about 2 days later, they released the other 5, and we did the same thing. And we're just waiting for one last woman to be released. The first woman the first person that raised her hand voluntarily to go to the cartels, it was a woman. And the last one to raise her hand on going voluntary to be kidnapped, it was another woman. And that's the last one we're expecting. Now, we told all the shelters that the first people that we was going to turn in to ask for political asylum to the bridge next Saturday, or next coming Saturday, it was going to be all people that was kidnapped. So we're going to have them next week, hopefully here in El Buen Samaritano, and we're going to do another party for them. We're going to take a little video and we're going to turn them into Southwest Fellowship, Fellowship Southwest, so we can see all that. I'm gonna send also some videos when we received those first 10 migrants that was kidnapped and they were released. But I'm just so glad that they did a service. They were praying in those stage homes, because that's the only thing that is going to change the cartels' lives.
Yeah. Wow. That is quite the story. So let me ask you a couple quick questions that I thought of while you were talking. First of all, let me just say for clarification that they initially asked for $40,000. They went down to $20,000. And then not only did they not take any money, they fixed your van.
Yes.
Free of charge. Yes. So that never happens. I mean, that never, ever happens. Okay. So why did you, so you seem to have been expecting that you were maybe going to be kidnapped, or that you were going to need to deal with the cartels after you got that call from the family, from the woman that you knew. So why did you go back to Nuevo Laredo? You could have just probably waited at your home in Laredo.
Well, we have a lot of families, and I have 4 shelters, and I don't need to run from any cartel or anybody. I know that God is in control. He said that his angel is going to be with us, and he's going to protect us, and he was going to defend us. So I do believe that. We don't supposed to be running away from the devil. The devil's supposed to be running away from us. We just have to resist. That's what the Bible says. So if the light is going to hide somewhere, I mean, people is going to continue, the darkness is just going to continue going into our churches or families, and it's just going to continue destroying our community. And we're not called for that. So I do not believe that we're supposed to run away or don't do our job. The Holy Spirit is giving us the strength, and I know he's going to be there. I know that we can pay maybe a price, but the apostles and all, or the leaders on the Bible people or brothers, or I mean, they pay a price. It's not that they wanted to, or they were not looking for that, but it was a plan of God. The apostles that were beat up, a lot of Christians that were killed, a lot of Christians were persecuted, and there's not, I mean, I don't see any difference before and today. So if we want to make sure that our light shines in the darker places, we don't supposed to be scared or run away. We have to step forward.
Well, that is a word that we all really need to hear right now. So thank you. That's very inspiring and encouraging. Okay, one other thing. You said that the cartels were insistent that you had to be charging migrants for all this work that you're doing, and they just couldn't believe that you do this work for free. Elke, I want you to explain for people what the significance of that is, and how does the model that Lorenzo is doing, how does that help protect him and the other pastors on the border that serve migrants in that way?
That's a good question, and I will explain it, but later if Lorenzo wants to jump in and explain it himself. But here's the thing: when we talk about cartels, that's a name that we tend to use, but we're talking about organized crime. That's the name that a lot of the border pastors use whenever they refer to the cartels, right? And I've seen this quote, and I will say it as that some of them tell me they are called organized crime because they are organized, and they're very organized. And of course, you can organize very well when you can tell someone you have to do this by this time, or something will happen to your family. And so what I want to convey is the fact that they're very well organized and they have a lot of control. But what they are doing is actually, and this is going to sound cruel when I say it, it's very tough. It was tough for me to understand from my perspective and from where I come from, but this is all a business. It is a business for the cartels. They see humans as commodities. And so if you want to get across to the US or come back, you have to pay a fee because they own the turf, right? And Lorenzo is saying yes as I'm talking. And so you have to pay. And so whenever he said, when he was explaining that there was this family that was deported, what he's trying to say is that there was a family that it could have been, there probably may have been a miscommunication, but it could have been misconstrued that when this person was deported and there was a family helping in the US, helping that person that was deported, that meant that that other family in the US was running a business to get migrants from point A, from the US to Mexico, or from the Mexico to the US. And that would cut into the cartel or the organized crime business, right? By Pastor Lorenzo and the other border pastors not asking for any money for sheltering migrants, for transporting migrants, for protecting migrants and helping them logistically, from a humanitarian perspective, by them not charging anything like Pastor Lorenzo does, actually that means for the cartel that you're doing this in good faith from your own convictions and that you're not doing it to cut into our business. That's why there's been stories of other pastors, other ministers who have been executed, who have died, and bad things that happened to them with local cartels. Probably it could have been that they were charging. Probably it could have been a misunderstanding. But if you know Lorenzo, he's been doing this work for 5 years. And he has dealt before with cartels. And that's why it was very shocking, at least for me, to know that he was kidnapped, because as he said, everybody knows the work Lorenzo does, and everybody knows that Lorenzo does not charge anything, right? He does it from his own heart. Organizations like Fellowship Southwest, we help Lorenzo, obviously, feed these migrants and protect them, but he does not himself pay, gets paid from this. And so that is actually the single most important factor as to why he was released, and why cartels kind of know that, hey, you know, with Lorenzo, we don't mess around. And not just that, Lorenzo is known by Customs and Border Patrol, the Department of Homeland Security, not just Fellowship Southwest, Catholic Charities, Holdings Institute, the UN. He says ONU, that's ONU, that's the UN. So he works with a lot of partners in this very dangerous area, that and he's got a lot of credibility. And so whenever whenever you kidnap a person like Lorenzo, everybody will know, and everybody will try and get a hold of him. And plus, he also works with Mexican authorities to help transport this migrant. So he's a great asset in our network, and he's a great asset for a lot of people that do humanitarian work in Nuevo Laredo. And that's why he's been able to survive, if you can say, and persist doing this job for 5 years.
Lorenzo, I came to Nuevo Laredo to visit you and some of your shelters a few years ago, but it was before COVID. And I remember that when we were there, there was a pastor who had just been executed by a cartel. And it was this horrific story that you were telling us. And I might be confused, but I feel like the cartels lived across the street from the shelter that we were at. And you reassured us that as long as we were with you, we would be okay. Because you have established a rapport or a relationship with the cartels where they don't bother you. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, what happened back then is that there was other leaders. They just the police just took one of their main leaders and send it to the US. So there was changings on the cartels, and there's few leaders that they have now that they didn't know me, but a lot of others they do. So when I was taken to the new leader, when the other members they start telling the boss who I was and what they were doing with me starting 5 years ago, then he was surprised. He didn't know much about me. So that's why everything was kind of peaceful, because two of our shelters, it's just right on the center of their activities. Sometimes I was bringing some groceries and veggies to one of the shelters, and the cartels was there, and I told them, guys, would you let me go in with my stuff and unload it, and then I'll get out? And they said, yeah, go ahead, Pastor. And then when they come in, Pastor, would you move your van so we can park? Because it was a circle where we needed to move one or another so that we can go in. So the two shelters, they're right where their activities are. But the thing is that this incident that happened kind of make him think that I was making business, and I wasn't checked. After 3 years, they hadn't checked me again. So they thought it was a good opportunity so that they can check me out again. And they find out that there was nothing, that I was clean on everything. So, but now, there's a few things that I want to tell you about this. One is that I think one of the big things that happened is that when the boss saw all what was happening, he knew that I was not just a regular pastor. He knew that there was somebody behind, and it wasn't just authorities or Christian people. But what happened to him that one day, that never happened for a long time. So the cartel was shaped. They, for the first time, I think in years, they were not so scared like that one day. They never felt so burnable because God did amazing things in a night and in a day. So one of the things that I need to tell the governments, the two governments, is that they have to protect these people. A lot of them, they've been in jail, but not because they're criminals. A lot of them, they probably just had a trafficking fine or a ticket or something not so big, but it was just something very simple. So when they end up, they know, this cartel knows, because they're wearing a white suit or an orange suit, or they dress orange or white, and then when they sit in Nuevo Laredo, they know that they're coming out of jails. So the cartel is just waiting to pick them up and take advantage of them. So they kidnap people from Mexico, people from Central America, and they're checking their territory, making sure that no other cartels come through the migrants. And so in my point is that why did they release me? Why is God using the migrants to testify to these cartels? Now that they feel for the first time the fear that they were going to die, a lot of this cartel, because there was an helicopter all around the city with soldiers and Marines. And those guys, they thought that the soldiers was going to shoot him, or the helicopter was going to shoot him. And we were on the back of that Tahoe, and we were just jumping up and down and going all crazy through the streets. So God is with us, and He honors our faith. And I know that our churches, there's a lot of brothers and sisters that they're brave, and that we know that God's going to be with us in shadows of death. So if we make presence in the worst cities, I know we're not going to be the ones that are going to be running away. They're the ones that are going to have to find some other place, if that's God's will. If God sees that there's a lot of brave men and women that we want to just go to these darker places and shine, I know that the light is gonna prevail. That's for sure.
And I want to add something. and Pastor Lorenzo, you gave me a good segue to explain to people why do we do advocacy on the U.S. and why do we exactly ask for the end of Title 42? We just talk about it from a policy perspective. It is a policy, when in reality, those two same migrants that died on Nuevo Laredo are never gonna show up in a human rights report.
No,
They're never gonna show up in the stats as dead. They're just gonna show up as disappeared, probably. Yeah. And people are not gonna make the distinction between, hey, there's this US policy that's called Title 42, where the US can get a migrant. I mean, a migrant goes across and I can expel that migrant through another port of entry. And this kind of situations can happen. And they happen every day. Why? Because the US government does know that you have to pay a cartel to get across. If not, the cartel will get back to you if you're returned or expelled back to Mexico. So probably you're going to get through Matamoros or Reynosa, who are controlled by other cartels. But if they're going to release you back or expel you back through Nuevo Laredo, that is another cartel. You're going to have to pay another turf. And if there is any way that they think that you're related to their rival cartel, you're going to pay the price. And so the Customs and Border Patrol, and I have to say this, and the Department of Homeland Security, they know this. They know this. Still, they continually each day expel people to their deaths. And these are not going to be shown in stats, not even newspapers, because Mexican newspapers, well, we all know what happens to journalists in Mexico who write this kind of stuff. And so this is what we're doing as a policy. We, the United States, in this policy that a lot of legislators, I don't know from where, they want to keep this policy being implemented without knowing that they are, without knowing or knowingly, just that they don't want to see that there is blood on their hands with this policy. And people like Lorenzo, like Pastor Lorenzo, are every day putting their lives at risk. He's putting his life at risk every day. And all of the border pastors that we help with Fellowship Southwest and the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship, they are putting their lives out there, and they are being exposed to a lot of dangers, especially with cartels, precisely because of this policy, Title 42, that is unsustainable for organizations and people in Mexico to continue to do this job for free, like Pastor Lorenzo does. He doesn't charge anyone, but can that happen everywhere? And so this is the reality of what this policy does. And I thank you, Pastor, to say or share with us this story, because, and you know this, we've been in conversations before, government officials trying to convey to them, please do not return or expel migrants through other ports of entries, especially in Nuevo Laredo, because we all know that this is probably the most ruthless cartel out there.
Right. And I just want to add something real quick, Brother Elkett, if this might help the church in the U.S. I know we don't trust cartels because they can change their mind or they can lie to us. We trust in God on what he said. But right after the service on Sunday, they released me on Saturday night. And we stayed on Sunday for our service at 11 the next day. And then right in the afternoon, like around 3 o'clock, I had to take off to Monterey to pick up some more families and bring it to Nuevo Laredo because we were going to cross it through the asylum. And then when I was coming back, again, 3 guys stopped me and from the cartel, and they were checking these families. And I told them, guys, I was just kidnapped a couple of days. So all you got to do is just call your boss and and tell them what happened. And this people he said that he was not going to kidnap moms and children or pregnant moms. So that's what I have. So just call your boss and let him know. So that's what they did. They took me another picture again. They sent it to him, and they just let us go. But that's what they said. They're not going to kidnap moms, children's, or pregnant moms, or any U.S. citizen, because that's the first thing that they asked me, if what was my nationality, and I said, well, I'm a U.S. citizen. And then they go, oh, we don't want to mess with any U.S. citizen, because they knew what was going to happen, and that's what they experienced just in a matter of a night, and then the next day in the morning, that's when everything started. And those guys, they released me right away without any other issue. So just to tell our churches, if you want to trust God, and if you want to do missions, and if you want to shine in the darker places, Nuevo Laredo is one of those places. And not just Nuevo Laredo, all the border cities, any border cities where they want to do missions. If we come with our members, I know what our policies from church sometimes, or organizations might say, oh, I cannot protect you when you're on the other side of Mexico. But God said that he will protect us. So I think we can make a big difference. I know that the evil and the sin is going to continue growing in our days, and it's going to get worse. But it's not, if we do our job, and if we step forward, and if we shine, the sin can wait. When there's brave men and women, the sin can wait, because God wants to shine with us. He's gonna do his part. If we believe him, he's gonna do his part. But if we don't live after the extra mile or over the extra mile, we're not gonna experience any of that, because we're used to that comfort zone. And I mean, we do the same thing that everybody does. If we do good to those who does good to us, there's nothing. There's no difference. But if we go the extra mile, if we go and live over the extra mile, just like a mom that was kidnapped, one of these 14 people that was kidnapped, when they came back and tell me a story, she said, Pastor, I was kidnapped before once. And I was interested on that, because I said, why did you raise your hand then to go for the second time? And she said, oh, because I believe what you said, that I was going to be released and that God was going to be with us. If that woman believed what a man said, what a pastor said, why don't we believe what God said? That's living over the extra mile, because it was twice. That woman was kidnapped twice. I wish we can take this kidnapped people to the churches and have them just testify on what God did in their lives to make the light shine on those worst places.
Lorenzo, that's an amazing testimony. Thank you. And I just want you to know that we will continue coming to visit you and working with you. And we trust you completely, and we trust God. And Fellowship Southwest does both mission and advocacy around immigration. So we like to be present with you and the migrants and the asylum seekers on the border. And since COVID is different and we're able to travel, we will be bringing groups to different places along the border, and hopefully to Nuevo Laredo sometime soon. And what Elkit was saying about Title 42, we are actively advocating for the end of Title 42 so that hopefully the situation can improve for asylum seekers and for all people along the border, and for you. And thirdly, if anyone watching would like to help really directly, you can donate to the Knox Fund for Immigrant Relief. All of the money that we receive through the Knox Fund goes straight to ministries like Lorenzo's, and feeding and sheltering migrants and transporting them and keeping them safe. So thank you, Lorenzo, for talking to us. I know you are so busy and you deserve some time off and some rest, and God bless you. Elkit, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I mean, thank you, Pastor Lorenzo, for the work you do. A lot of people rely on your work and your calling and your ministry. We're just very blessed to work alongside you, to help you and your ministry. I mean, there's nothing else to say. And obviously, we are very excited that you're here. And we prayed hard, and God was able to deliver. And we definitely thank Him, and we thank your ministry. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for your prayers, and God bless all our brothers and sisters.